Hello and welcome back to the Arcane Forge. My name's Josh, and today I wanted to do two things. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a channel update, and I also wanted to do a question and answer session because, unfortunately, I've been super busy recently and I've not been able to answer any of your questions in the comment section below my videos, so I thought I would address some of the questions that you've asked and hopefully get back to some of you. So the channel update is basically, I've been kind of reassessing how I've been operating on the channel. So far I've been doing 2 videos a week. I've been taking the odd holiday here and there, but generally speaking, 2 videos a week. And that's worked out really nicely for a very, very long time. But I came upon a realization recently, and that's that I'm pretty much constantly just getting a video out in time. Whether it's Monday or Friday, I'm pretty much uploading the night before or maybe the morning that I am actually posting these things, and that's just about when I've got the work done. And what that means is if I ever want to take time off, if I ever want to take a holiday, then generally speaking I have to leave the channel with no content during that time, or I can't really take holidays. So I think something needs to change. Additionally, I really like the quality of videos that I'm making, and I think I want to make that sustainable. So I think I'm going to be doing Friday videos less frequently, or perhaps not quite so guaranteed that there will always be a video on Friday. I know I've mentioned this in previous videos before, but I think I'm really going to make a go at it this time, because some of you have mentioned that you like my Friday videos and you like seeing some of my drawings in them. And you know what? I really like doing drawings in them as well. I like, you know, the kind of beginner's guide to D&D videos that I'm doing, when I can illustrate what combat looks like with some, you know, funny pictures or, you know, some swords clashing and so on. And with the channel growing and me trying to make a business out of this, I'm really not finding the time to do that. So I can either put out the same number of videos, I can be a little bit stressed and they'll be a little bit worse, or I can only occasionally do Friday videos. And by occasionally I mean I'm going to do these as frequently as I can still, but that I'm not going to put pressure on myself to make sure that there is one every single Friday. And I can make them a really, really good quality. So I think that's what I'm going to do from now on. I've got a few weddings coming up that I need to go to, so I'll be needing to take time off for those. And eventually somewhere later on in the year I'll want to take a holiday too. So I would prefer to leave a steady, high quality level of content for you guys when I do those things. Now, all of my lovely backers on Patreon are really helping me and supporting me to improve this channel, but despite that, YouTube has still not actually monetized my channel. They've been putting me under review since December, and every 2 months I get an email saying, we'll push it back 2 months, and so on and so on and so forth. They've been sending me those emails for the past 8 months or so. So I do have to work outside of this, which means I don't think I can justify the amount of time that it takes to make 2 videos a week. But don't worry, I am still going to be making those videos, things like the painting tutorials, introductions to D&D, tutorials, inclusive ideas, tips, and all this kind of stuff. But there might be a couple of weeks where you miss out on some, and then you get a couple of weeks where there's a bunch of them. So yeah. So it's just a heads up for that. Additionally, don't worry about Monster Mondays. They are by far the most popular videos. I have a lot of fun doing them. Well, I have a lot of fun doing all the videos actually, but you know what? They are the focus of this channel, I think. The intention of this channel is to get as many people interested in D&D as possible and to make it as accessible as possible, which I can do with my Friday videos. With the Monday videos, the Monster Mondays, that's for you guys, the people who are already loving D&D and already are really fascinated with the monsters in it, and I can happily put one of those out a week. So don't worry, nothing about Monster Mondays is going to change. Just means that I'm going to look slightly less tired in these videos because I won't have been working until the early hours of the morning every single week, just to make sure that we get something out. There's a quality of life improvement, guys, which is always very important. Who knows, once it gets monetized and I'm planning on opening a shop where I can sell some prints, things like my Monster Mondays, and some other stuff like that somewhere down the line. I'm working on it, but I need to get time to actually make those products. Maybe once Arcane Forge becomes a proper business and it can finance itself, I can hire someone on, and it won't just be me working behind the camera. I could get, you know, someone to help me edit my videos. I can get someone to help me with some other bits and bobs that I do behind the scenes, and that'll free me up to make 2 videos every single week reliably again. So you never know, it could always come back. But anyway, that is the channel update out of the way. So why don't I answer some of your questions? because you guys have been exceptionally patient, and I have left you alone down in the comment section there. So first off, Miles asks, in regards to the miniature painting thing, I've just started doing some miniature painting videos, which I'm very excited to carry on doing. And he asked if, well, I'm actually going to read his question rather than guess it. Miles says, do you think that miniature painting could be added as a commission option on the website? And yes, Miles, I would absolutely love that. I used to do that in Edinburgh here. There's some local gaming communities, the Edinburgh League of Gamers, ELG. I used to do some commission painting for them, and I would really love that. The only issue is that they were all Edinburgh based. You know, even if clients were UK based in general, that's nice and easy. Like, you know, someone can send me a figurine, I can paint the figurine, or they can, you know, ask me to buy the thing, and I can sculpt it and paint it and then send it off to them. Nice and easy. The downside is the huge majority of my viewers, including yourself probably, are in the US. I have a few people in Germany, I have a few people in Australia, I have a few people watching in France. That's what the statistics tell me. I don't know if you're actually from any of those places. If you're from somewhere else and the statistics aren't picking you up, make sure to leave it down below. I'd love to hear where you guys are from. But either way, that poses another challenge entirely, because, you know, the costs of painting one figurine might be quite low, but then the postage on top of that becomes a bit of a faff, because if you're sending me a figurine and I'm painting it and then I'm sending it back to you, you've got to pay for postage on both of those things, and that could become astronomically expensive. And rather than paying, I don't know, you know, 40, 50, what have you, quid for a figurine being painted, you're suddenly spending hundreds of pounds on one figure. So, you know, that could be a bit disappointing. Additionally, you know, there's no way for me to guarantee if I send something to someone, if there is like a little fragile figurine, especially one that I've had to sculpt or, you know, glue bits together and all this kind of stuff, they might get damaged in transit. So that poses a few more problems. But to answer your question, Miles, yes, I really want to do that. I absolutely am desperate to put that on the commissions list, but I need to think of the right way to do it. I need to think of a feasible way to do it. So, not yet, but soon. Tristan Williams asks, I'm probably overthinking this, but what do the runes say? And he's referring to the video, the Cryptex of Loki, the magic item workshop video that I did. I mentioned that the Cryptex expands and contracts. It has a number of runes on it based on the number of letters in your spell, and I believe I had 4 on that video. And they spell Akk. Akk. It's gibberish, unfortunately. I just looked at some Old Norse and I put some random letters in there. I really should have spelt something. That was a missed opportunity there. It was an initialism for the spell aromatic, crispy, flying grasshopper? It's like Find Steed, but it just assaults all of the senses. No, I'm afraid that was just gibberish, but damn, that would have been a really good opportunity. Well, I wish I had not missed that. The Sage asks, do you do commissions for characters? And yes, absolutely, Sage, I do. If you check out my website, it should say on the homepage whether or not commissions are opened or closed. Again, I'm busy right now. I have a few commissions left to do, and after that I'm going to be needing to work on videos and things like that just to play catch up, so I won't be taking any commissions for a few more weeks, but that'll notify you whether or not commissions are open or closed. And then in the top right hand corner there's like home, and then commissions, and then there's the contact us bit. If you go into commissions, you'll see that there's a kind of list of everything there that I do, how the process works, how much everything costs, how to get a commission, all that kind of stuff. So yes, absolutely, I do character commissions. Make sure to check out the website. Victor Simon asks, when he was watching the Gibbering Mouther Monster Monday, out of curiosity, what are its weaknesses? How does one kill this nightmare?
Burn it. Burn it with fire.
Yeah, there's no easy fix for the Gibbering Mouther. It is some sort of H.P. Lovecraft style nightmare, and the only thing to do really is to stand far enough away from it. The noise that it makes and the sort of entangling flesh roots that can stop you standing still are, I think it's 20-foot radius. I don't have the monster manual on me right now, but I think it's a 20-foot radius for both. Someone will say in the comment section below. But potentially a 20-foot radius, in which case, spellcasters, burn that thing to death. You don't want any residue of that existing at all. Even the slightest little eyeball or vein left can probably still regrow that horrible, horrible creature. So, fire. Oh God, fire. Pray to whatever gods you believe in. And also perhaps bring a ranger or a fighter. Drop an ooze on it from a great height. Who knows? Just stay away from it and hopefully burn it to ash. Tyler Tonesmaker? Tyler, you asked me if I would do... So would you do the NPCs in the back of the monster manual, like the Archmage and the Assassin? That's an interesting question. There is less to go on there, I think. Although I could talk about the origin of, you know, Mage, Magister, all this kind of stuff, as opposed to doing that in a class-based video. And Assassins have a very, very rich lore and history. Also, I love drawing stuff, so you know what? Yeah, if it's in the monster manual, I'll do those. That's absolutely fine. Whatever you like. Someone did ask me if I would draw the dinosaurs or if I would draw some of the monsters in the back, like dogs and things like that. And there's less lore about that kind of stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, why not? Just if it's your suggestion, if it's in the monster manual, or even if it's outside of the monster manual. I've had some great suggestions from Pathfinder, some of the monsters from Kobold Press, all this kind of stuff. I plan on covering all of that stuff. So those are still monsters in D&D to me. If you can use them in D&D, we'll use them. I'm tempted to even do some of my own homebrew monsters at some point. But so far the way it works is I'm going through in a list that you've suggested in the order they've been suggested to me, which has had a lot of people very frustrated. We've got a few viewers who watch every single time and are very vocal and, you know, really lovely, very patient people. But I think the suggestion for slads and I think the suggestion for either chromatic or metallic dragons comes up every time. People sort of, not exactly impatient, but hopeful of their monster coming up every single week. And I feel bad going, it's not this week again, they're coming, I'm sorry. But they are turning up. All of your suggestions will get done. I'm just doing them in the order that I've received them. Which was my initial attempt at some sort of misguided idea of being fair rather than going, that's the most exciting one, I'm going to do that. Because I didn't want to show favoritism and preference. Because that's what anxiety looks like. But yes, I'm going through in the order that I got them. But yes, I'll do whatever's in the monster manual or even outside of it as long as it has stats. Bootsy over on Patreon. Hello Bootsy, you are a very vocal and lovely backer, so thank you very much. Bootsy is probably my most active supporter. We have a lot of chats. And he asked me on Facebook, what is your all-time favourite character? And this may be one of your own or one of your players. So my favourite character that I've ever played was Wyatt Reese. I used his name in the review video for Dirty Little Goblins that I did recently. And Wyatt Reese was my favourite. I can't actually resist the smile now because he was so much fun. He was, I took a break from DMing, and one of the guys in my group who, my group is largely consisting of people who had not played D&D but were interested in it before I DM'd. It was my first experience DMing, except for one guy who was very experienced, probably more experienced than, actually definitely more experienced than I am in D&D. And while I was taking a break from one campaign to write the sci-fi campaign that I'm now running with the same group, he wrote a campaign for us where I was a player. And I played Wyatt Reese, who my intention was not to ruin his game. I don't think it did ruin his game, but there's always that temptation with a character like this. Wyatt was absolutely useless. He had no stats, no skills whatsoever. He was a rogue with a bow. He was basically an absolute charlatan. We didn't have the options for charlatans and things like that. I didn't feel a bard was right because we were playing in a setting where arcane magic and arcane traditions weren't available to you. The only way to become a magic user was to become a sorcerer. It was in your blood, sort of X-Men style. You're a mutant, you're born with magic. So I thought rogue seemed like a fitting thing for a charlatan. And I think his real name was Colin something or other. He was he's just absolutely useless except for his voice. And he ran away from home when he was younger. He got abducted by a witch who, you know, did experiments on him and things like that. And as part coping mechanism, part survival instinct, he picked up on the idea of heroism, and he changed his name to Wyatt Reese, and he put on a sort of American accent, and I kind of pictured him a bit like McCree. He would always talk his way out of something, but he never had anything to give. He was always trying to introduce himself by writing books. You know, he was writing survival books and things like that that were just whatever he made up at the time. He was a compulsive liar. And so even when the party was in absolute danger, he would misidentify creatures, indicating that he had fought them 1,000 times before, that he was some massive heroic hero. If you picture Gilderoy Lockhart from the Harry Potter series, that was basically Wyatt. And he was unbelievably fun to play because it was all about talking your way out of situations, trying to convince the party that you had meant to do everything that you had done, even though you had not hit the monster once. You'd run away screaming. He fell unconscious in almost every single combat. I mean, he probably believed he was Wyatt Reese by the end of it because, you know, he kept sustaining a series of concussions. But Wyatt was wonderful, and I will always remember him. He died in his sleep by accidentally activating a trap, which is fitting. Favorite character that one of my players has used. Again, the humorous ones aren't always the best ones, but in recent memory, this was my favourite one that one of my players has come up with. There's a guy in the group, again, he was one of the ones who had never played before, but he's an absolutely unbelievably natural role player. Just comes up with a character concept and can just be that character. And in his first adventure ever, he played a wizard called Sidir. I had a location on the map called Sidirland. This wizard was absolutely ancient. He was a chronomancer, a sort of homebrew class that I'd made. Not homebrew class, a homebrew archetype for wizards that I'd made with a few time-based spells. And something had gone horribly wrong before the adventure. He was very powerful at one point, but he had lost all of his memories and skills, and he was absolutely out of it. He had no idea what was going on at any given time. He would forget who he was, who other players were. He was just absolutely goofy and wonderful. Everything kind of went wrong. Again, it's the characters to which things go wrong that are always the most amusing, but just rolling with it and staying in character that really, really get to me. Sidir was absolutely hilarious and really useful, and had a really well thought out backstory that I could use as a DM to put in a lot of plot points. And this player was absolutely flawless as him. So yeah, that was my favourite character that another player has made in one of my campaigns. Rappeltech asked me on Facebook, "You have to put together an adventuring party of historical figures to stop a terrible threat facing the world. Who fills each class role?" Which is a great question. Now, Rappeltech and I had actually talked about this before. Rappeltech is a streamer over on Twitch, and he's actually one of the people in my D&D group right now. He doesn't stream D&D, but if you want to go and check him out, he is over on Twitch. And we talked about the possibility of this before. I was watching a cartoon series by Lord Bung on YouTube, and I can't remember the name of the series, but do check out that YouTube channel. He's a fantastic animator. And the premise was that Winston Churchill had developed a time machine because the Nazis had also done the same thing and had ruined the time stream, and Winston Churchill had amassed a team of the greatest minds throughout time to combat the Nazis, which I just thought was so silly and weird and wonderful that it deserved to be a D&D campaign. So myself and Rappeltech threw this idea around and got to wondering what classes, if you were to use D&D, would these people be. So I thought Nikola Tesla, a storm sorcerer, seems like the right kind of thing for him. You could have Charles Darwin, the shape-shifting druid. Perhaps Marie Curie as some sort of radiance-based cleric. Obviously William Shakespeare, the bard, needs to be the bard. If we could use the homebrew chronomancer thing for wizards, then I would have Albert Einstein as a relativity-based chronomancer wizard. That's providing a pretty squishy party so far. But yeah, that seems like a good party, either way. I would start there and maybe go with some other options afterwards, but I think Lightning Tesla seems like a good thing. Rob Foxon asks over on Facebook, what other YouTube channels do you enjoy watching the most, if any? Tons, actually. I'm pretty much constantly on YouTube. AJ Piggott on the Mighty Glue Stick is a wonderful, wonderful guy. I'd not actually heard of his stuff before I started making my channel, which I feel very guilty about actually, but since then, I chat quite a lot to AJ, and he is a wonderful person and makes fantastic videos, very in-depth, much longer videos than mine. But he does something very similar with the Monster Mondays in terms of monster ecologies and all this kind of stuff. He's just gone full-time YouTuber as well, so that's great. Crafty Tabletop Stories and Luke Hart over at the DM Lair are both also very lovely people who contacted me when I first started making videos, and we've all been chatting together really about sort of how to do this. I think we all pretty much started roughly around the same time, and it's been really nice to have some people to chat to about making a channel. We're all D&D based. We all cover slightly different things. Luke talks more about sort of experience role-playing. Crafty Tabletop Stories talks more about sort of crafting dice and things like that, but he does cover a lot of DM tips as well. And I'm more art focused and try and get new players into the hobby. So in terms of D&D stuff, I watch a lot of those. I mean, obviously there's also Matthew Coville, Nerdarchy, Geek and Sundry, and How to Be a Great Game Master that I watch regularly as well, as often as I can. But I find with making a lot of D&D content, I find it harder to watch quite so much D&D stuff at the moment. So usually a little bit less of that. I love Minnie Smalls, the illustrator. She has a fantastic YouTube channel which talks about her life as a illustrator, and that's been really informative to me as well. Animal Logic is a really wonderful YouTube channel that I watch all the time, and kind of inspired me to do my Monster Mondays a little bit, because it's also about a time, there's a time-lapse drawing of an animal while you're also learning about how the animal operates in the wild, their biology, their ecology, all this kind of stuff. And it's hosted by Danielle Dufault, who is a very, very charming and well-informed host. So yeah, absolutely do watch that. That channel is absolutely adorable. Lord Bung and Van Ripper are two animators that I really adore, so I watch a lot of their stuff, although animation takes a lot of time, so they don't tend to release too many things too often. I watch two very different channels all the time for miniature painting stuff. I follow Next Level Painting with Kenny Boucher, which is hilarious, because Kenny Boucher is like the Guy Fieri of miniature painting. He is unbelievably talented. He is incredibly talented at his craft, but he is just such a funny guy. He is a character that you could make in D&D, and I cannot really describe him at all. You'd have to just watch. But I could not conjure Kenny Boucher in my wildest imagination. Luke's Affordable Paint Service is a wonderful miniature painting channel, all about miniature painting and maybe trying to make the hobby a little bit cheaper. Recently he started selling some of his products, and I think he's moving away from the idea of trying to reduce expenditure in his videos. But still, really good tips and very down to earth. And otherwise, maybe a little bit of a weird one, but Bob Ross. If you ever watched The Joy of Painting, I listen to Bob Ross on repeat every time I'm drawing Monster Mondays, pretty much all the time. I like to have a little bit of a chill out I'm very into mindfulness, I'm very into meditation, and I sort of can reach that place when I'm listening to Bob Ross. So I listen to a lot of Bob Ross when I'm drawing, and there is the official Bob Ross channel. So I do watch that a lot. Whether or not I should recommend that, I don't know. But yeah, you asked me what I watch a lot of, and that is that. One question that seems to have come up a lot and is asked in most of my videos is my setup for Monster Monday. What am I using, and also, have I been to art school? Have I ever had any formal art training, and so on. What I'm using for Photoshop is what I'm using for Monster Monday is a very, very beaten up, hand-me-down Wacom Fun or Wacom Play tablet that my partner used to use, but she doesn't anymore. And I mean, it has a hole in the wire, and yeah, it's seen better days, but it does the job. One day I'll upgrade it if there's something that sort of improves my work with it massively, or if it completely breaks to pieces. But otherwise, I love it and it works for me. I also use Adobe Creative Cloud, so I have very up-to-date Photoshop for that. I used to not do that until very recently. I've been using CS5, I think it was, but yes, Photoshop is what I use for my videos. And in terms of if I've ever been to art school or any formal training or anything like that, no, I have not. I went to school and there was an art department, and I spent a lot of time there. I've always been very passionate about art and about drawing. My mum likes to watercolor paint, and my brother is an art teacher, and there's always been a lot of drawing in the household. My dad's not arty at all, but one of us needs to be, you know, level-headed. So yeah, I've just always been drawing, always been drawing. I've always been fascinated with illustration and animation, sketching, comic books, all this kind of stuff. But no, I never went to university or college, as the Americans might say it. I never studied anything like that. It's flattering that that people ask that a lot. And I have thought about going back, but a lot of people that I spoke to who have gone to art college or are currently in art college said it's more about experimenting with what sort of style you're interested in achieving and trying to direct your focus, and sort of learn criticism and all this kind of stuff. And I kind of know what I want to do with the artwork now. So generally speaking, I talk to those people who are in art college and try to challenge myself and talk about, you know, what they're learning. But I don't think I would go to art college now. I'm not sure. Maybe one day. It's just one of those things that I would like to do, but I don't think I totally need to right now, because I enjoy what I'm doing and I'm learning by doing this. But yeah, either way, no, to answer your question, I have not been to art college, but I just love to draw, and I'm constantly drawing, and I have been since I was extremely little. So you pick up a lot over a lifetime of doing it. But yeah, that was everything. There are quite a few questions that I missed, but I get the feeling that I've probably run on quite a long time with this video anyway. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for being understanding about the Fridays thing. Again, they're gonna come out, but probably not every week, and there will definitely be a Monster Monday every week. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, I have a Facebook and Instagram, a Twitter, a Patreon, and a website. If you enjoyed this video or you just want to support the channel, please make sure to leave this video a little like, maybe favorite it, perhaps share it with someone, or even subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Everything that you can do like that really helps the channel to grow, and at this early stage that is massively, massively helpful, so thank you very much. And until next time guys, have a lovely day, and I'll see you on Monday for another Monster Monday. Bye.